near the Earth's surface. That's what I do. That's my science. Now, in answer to section 2 there, question 2, is that they call this desertification. We were going to bring that up a little bit. Brittle environments. This is an area where there's not enough water to support trees, vegetation, and forests. So these brittle environments are encroaching. Every year, there's an enormous amount of vegetation being lost to the earth due to desertification. So in the desert, we're not dependent on 2 inches of rainfall to support a well, to support the water of the rivers or whatever. That we drill down into the underground and get new water. And it's there. In the desert, probably more easy to get than it is in an area where there's a lot of rainfall, because there's a tendency just to look for water shallow underground for rainfall percolated water, whereas primary water is deeper, but it finds its way up through fractures and pipes, vents and openings in fractured rock, and comes near the surface. That's what I do. My science is not at war with conventional hydrology. I use both.
I have a question. Is Roberta still there?
Yes.
Okay, Roberta, did you get your questions answered?
Yes, I have one follow-up.
Okay.
And that is, are there fractures underground under the deserts? I'm concerned about the huge amount of deserts that are existing every year and more with solar radiation. So are there fractures under the desert as well as under regular land masses?
Yes, there are fractures underwater in the oceans and under the desert sands, and this is part of the earth. Below the surface of the earth, there's a lot of what we call igneous rock. Granite, limestone is another type. It's a sedimentary rock, and this fractures because due to earthquake activity. And believe me, there's plenty of earthquake activity all over the world, and these fractures open up these vents and allow the water to come up, be released from deeper levels.
All right, Roberta, did we handle your questions?
Yes, thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate your program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who has any questions for Bill Cox today on primary water? Okay, I want to move to another part of this segment, which is for people who are interested in making primary water available to developing countries, to places where there are droughts, Africa, India. India now has begun the privatization of water, so much so that there are big wars going on. Not wars where there's killing, but wars on an energetic level, because so many people are not being given access to this and have to buy bottled water by either European countries or American companies that go into this country and begin selling them their own water. So for those of you who are out there who are hearing this broadcast today, who A, would like to be part of a team that lets people know that there is primary water, B, would like to have your own water well on your land without intruding into what's called public, what's the right word for this?
Well, like trespassing on a neighbor's underground sources.
Yes,
primary water avoids most of that problem.
How?
Well, because when you drill, if you're drilling into a pond or a basin, the basin or pond could also extend under your property line to the neighbor's. Okay. And so the neighbor thinks when you're pulling water out of that, you're getting his water too. Primary water is an independent source. It can commingle with shallow waters, with rainfall percolated water, but it's a separate source.
Great. We have Rick from Baltimore holding. Welcome, Rick.
Hello, how are you today?
Good. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, we've had a big problem down here and in Maryland. What happened is there's an Exxon station, and they've had some big problems with their leaking, and it's leaking into our water. Their gasoline's leaking through, and it's causing us major problems.
When you say problems, what kind of problems are you talking about besides the obvious?
It's got into all the drinking water in the area.
Oh, my God.
And we've had to close down the station, all the Exxon stations in this part of town. We've closed a couple stations down.
What is your specific question? I'm very sorry to hear that that's happening. And what's your question to Bill?
Yeah, what does he think we should do? Should we move, or should we just move into a different area?
First of all, Most of the water that is being contaminated in your area, I suspect, is shallow sources, what we call shallow sources, in aquifers, again, water veins, and this is water that can easily be contaminated for a number of reasons by upstream or upland users and so on. But in your case, it sounds like it might be flat. Your land is reasonably flat. So what's happened is that you have your main water sources there are coming from conventional hydrology. I'm talking about primary water where you drill deeper, and the drillers have skills, right, and there's engineering where they can seal off those at levels where contaminated waters are coming into the well, and they can plug it up with cement and then drill back through it and cement that off. There are different techniques for sealing out contaminations that are coming into a well and polluting it. So I suspect probably what's happening with your stations, if there are this leakage, is going into this type of source where it's affecting the wells. There's not much can be done about it.
So
the leakage.
What is your suggestion to him specifically at this point for his well-being and family and friends?
Well, one way for the people who have wells, if they're willing to spend the money, is to drill down through these levels where this percolation or this saturation of contaminants in the water can be sealed off. And so whoever's doing the engineering there probably doesn't allow for the fact that there's any water below where the sources are now. They figure it's probably like a water table or a pond or a basin of water, and that's being contaminated. But instead of drilling through that, and that's a lot of times when I make a recommendation, they drill through that and then seal that part of the well off from that penetration.
Rick, what do you do?
Right now, well, I'm just a driver for Papa John's right now, and we love bottled water, so it hasn't really been that big of a problem. But it's been a shocker in Baltimore, and it's been a major news story. And some people are selling their homes, and the values have diminished a little bit, not much, but they've gone down a little bit. Should we just wait till it clears up and hope for the best? Is that what you guys would probably do?
Well, water has a marvelous capability to cleanse itself underground if it's allowed. If the contamination is not too strong and too concentrated, water can move some short distance underground and clean itself. But it sounds to me like this may be a major source of pollution, which there's no place for it to find new channels that are not already contaminated. But anyway, I think the answer is that this depends on the support from government and investors, and this is not easy to get because the mindset of hydrologists and engineering is that there is no such thing as primary water.
I think also on a practical level, that's at the geological, geopolitical surrounding situation and condition. On a specific level, if I may add, even though I'm not a water expert, I do tons of research. I would not only filter your water in your home or apartment or condo, wherever you live and wherever you are. I would also pick up a book that you may be interested in by Olaf Anderson called Living Water, which talks about implosion water, how you literally can change the frequency of the water that you're drinking. It sounds out there, but this man was Victor Schauberger, and The Secrets of Natural Energy was so advanced in his understanding of water, like Bill Cox, that the European government and scientists commissioned him to give all of his knowledge, including patents and discoveries, to them, and they have had it for over 50 years that most of the world doesn't know about. He talks about how the water spins and how you get water to spin a certain way. It's called implosion water, and the technology and science behind it. That's one thing I would do. Not only filter your water at the tap and make sure that you read a little bit about the filtering, because not all filters are the same. But there's also something to be said for living water. And you may want to call a gentleman named Michael Lund, who has a company called Alive Water, www.alivewater.net. and check into his products. He is part of Living Water and provides the structures that you attach to your sink, that you attach to your